If you meditate a lot, a little tip is when you finish the meditation, smile. Meditation creates a beautiful natural form of happiness. And if you can just acknowledge that with a little grin, you find that meditation will last a little bit longer inside. So those who need to go out, to go to the toilet or wherever, fine. But for the talk tonight, in my life as a monk, I've given so many talks, thousands of them literally, and that's not an exaggeration. So I don't like repeating myself, although some stories and jokes you repeat. But I do remember many years ago, I was saying this to the monk who's with me this evening. Many years ago I was teaching a weekend meditation retreat over in Safety Bay. And that was when we used to hire this Catholic retreat center. It was run by Catholic nuns. They're very nice to us. And honestly, I didn't mind just whoever was running the retreat center, as long as they kept reasonably quiet, which these couple of nuns did. But while I was doing this retreat and teaching it as well, in order to allow yourself to innovate, to actually to experiment, to try other ways of teaching, one of the things which I did was combine two of the most powerful, popular meditation techniques. And I remember asking monks who were much senior to me, can you do that? And maybe, I hope that some of them said no, because that's a sure way of making me try it. I'm rebellious. If you say you can't do it, of course you can do it. And combine loving kindness meditation together with breath meditation. And my God, that was so powerful. Sometimes the insights, we talk a lot about insight meditation. But you know what that is? It's actually doing a bit of experiment, watching, being calm, being peaceful, and being penetrating and seeing, what happens. And I think, I don't know if I told it, I told this at the retreat which I led recently. What insight is when you pick up something like this, which I have in front of me, and you ask people, what is it? Who knows what this is? Straight away when I ask a question like that, people think there is an answer, like a correct answer and a wrong answer. No, that's not the way of insight. Not correct, not right, not wrong. But you're seeing what you haven't seen before. You look deeper into it. If you say it's a stick, you've known that already. What else can you see this can be used for? It's very good as a back scratcher. So a lot of times we innovate. And I did tell that story. I was reminded of this incident because about a couple of weeks ago, the person who was responsible for this, a friend from over, I think in Queensland, he was a Sri Lankan academic, and he was running or helping run the World Computer Conference in South Korea, in the town of Daejeon. This was high profile. I remember one of the people I met over there, he was the head of the European Union cybersecurity. And they got me to give the keynote address at this World Computer Conference. Keynote address means that in the top address, what sets the tone of the conference. And look at me, yes, I did get a degree in theoretical physics from Cambridge, but that's nothing to do with computing. That was so many years ago. What do I know about computing? Zero. So they asked me, what am I doing at that conference? Giving the keynote address. What papers had I published on computing? Zero, nothing, nil. What are you doing here? And that's when I told them what insight means and how productive insight can become in your life. I told them the old story. I'm sure I've told this one before. It's not so much a joke, but a powerful insight into how the mind and life works. It's over 100 years previously, I think in the town of St. Louis in the US. They had the World's Fair, a World's Fair. And of course, if you go to one of these big occasions where many, many people are exhibiting weird and strange things, you have to eat. And so they arranged stalls with different types of foods. And it just so happened, just by chance, nothing else, the store which was selling ice cream was right next to the stall which sold waffles. What's a waffle got to do with an ice cream? When you make the waffle into a cone and put the ice cream on top, you have the first ice cream cones which ever existed in the world. That's how ice cream cones were invented. Just by the chance of two different types of food being sited next to each other and the two owners combining their talents. So that's what I was saying. I'm a Buddhist monk, a meditator. I'm not good at computing at all. So if you combine computing with some of the stuff we practice in meditation, what's going to happen? Amazing stuff. So when I say, what is this? You keep looking and you see things you've never seen before. It's not just a stick. It's something more than that. And so when you look very deep, you find new usages, new combinations for old things. Are there any ties here this evening? Because one of the things which wasn't discovered, but I found really was, okay, I admit it, one of my favourite foods. Ice cream and sticky rice. Many people in Thai cuisines always put some sticky rice, kaunio, with ice cream. They go together really well. Little things like that which I thought, ice cream and rice, what have those two things got to do together? One's a dessert, one's the main part of a meal. But they work very well together. That innovation makes you see so many different beautiful things in this world which you never noticed before. And that's even in a business like computer science. They can do so much to innovate, to help, to move things forward in the world. So that's one of the reasons why, with understanding things like insight, what is your life? How to best live your life? How old are you? Why are you? All of those insights. But sometimes we're so busy, we don't have time to really look. And take time just to see a stick which is on here all the time. What actually is it? What can it be used for? And not just say the ordinary things. Those ordinary things, it's a stick, it's brown, it's about 10 inches long. That's what you've been told at school. That's what other people have brainwashed you into seeing. It's much more than that. And to see that extra is where we have these beautiful things which we call insight. But it's not just seeing its utility and getting new understandings of how this can be used, or new machines. One of the most beautiful things about insight is the beauty itself. And that kind of surprised me. I don't know about you. I was always told that Buddhism is about suffering. The Four Noble Truths, suffering. Yeah, I mean, that's not a good way of marketing Buddhism. Okay, it's true, but it's much more than that. And that's why I couldn't hardly believe it. That when I really got into the meditation practice, my goodness, it was the most beautiful, happy thing I've ever done in my life. And on that retreat, over in Safety Bay, sometimes you were just walking through the compound, and then sometimes you saw something. Wow, that's gorgeous, that's beautiful. And it was just a speck of dust on the floor. How can that look so gorgeous? I'm not exaggerating. And that's when I remembered, when that first happened, this old poem. I repeat this a lot because it gives it credibility, by this English poet and artist called William Blake. 1600 and something. I think he died in 1700 and something. And it's only a 4-line poem which he wrote, and I never forgot it. To see a world in a grain of sand. See a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. I don't know why, but when I first read that, I read it again and again, and I remembered it. To see a world in a grain of sand, something so small, you pass by it, you don't give it the importance it deserves. You ever notice that when you have that moment, you have the time? You may be at the beach, but you don't look at the sea. There's too much going on there. You look at just a little bit of sand, which is maybe stuck to your feet. You look at its shape, look at its colour. Look at all the amazing facets it has. And after a while you see so much more than you've ever seen before. Just in a worthless piece of sand. You think it's worthless, but the longer you see it, wow. See a world in a grain of sand, and oh my goodness, in a wildflower. We have wildflower seasons here in Australia. How many people actually see the wildflower? Or they see just a whole swathe of colour from many, many, many flowers. It's much more beautiful to seeing one. Seeing its shape, it's tiny. It's one of the most humble, beautiful things you can ever imagine. Tiny little flower, gorgeous colours, gorgeous shapes. It's like, I don't know if you've ever been to art galleries. Sometimes the best art galleries are those of nature, and you see something and it just captures your attention, and it's absolutely beautiful. And you're not just saying that because other people say it, not just because that's what people want to hear. It surprises you, the beauty which you can see. And straight away, if you start to experience those sorts of insights, you find out just how happy you can be. There's grains of sand all over the place. Heavenly wild flowers, just everywhere. And then you get to the more powerful, hold infinity in the palm of your hand. People who look for spiritual truths always look for them somewhere else, in books. You go to nice monasteries, you see nice chaityas with relics in them. No, just hold that in the palm of your hand, right here, right now. See infinity in the palm of your hand. Infinity means cannot be judged, cannot be contained, cannot be put in a box. It's uncontainable infinity. And this is where you really get your mind starting to go very wide and very far. That's one of the things which I liked in my education. When sometimes, I still remember this occasion, that one of the classes I did in astrophysics was called Astrophysics of the Galaxy. And it was taught by Stephen... how come I forget his name? Come on. Stephen Hawking, his teacher. So this guy knew what he was up to. And sometimes, I'm not concerned with what he actually said, but just the power of what he said. He was talking about something he knew, which was really weird and profound. And I was supposed to be taking notes because there was an exam coming up in a few months. No way could you take notes. It appeared too beautiful. How can you take notes of one of the most gorgeous sunsets you've ever seen in your life? I don't want to take a note. It will just it will interrupt the enjoyment of what was being said. Interestingly, I learned that beforehand. When I remember, I was a Buddhist, and I thought, Buddhists, what should Buddhists do? And Buddhists go to India, and go and see the holy sites. I didn't really understand what I was doing, but I decided I wanted to do that. And so I remember one of the things which I always wanted to do as a young man is go and see the Himalayan mountains. I've seen photos of them, and they look absolutely gorgeous. A whole chain of mountains stretching across the northern horizon. And so that was one of my to-do lists. I really wanted to see these. But when I got there, into India, this is how stupid I was. It was during the rainy season. In the rainy season, the whole northern horizon was covered with clouds. No way you could see the mountains underneath. So after a few weeks I gave up. No way am I going to see the Himalayan mountains. And then one day I was with these other couple of travellers. We found out we could get into one of these very cheap post office trucks who took the mail up to the northern part of Nepal, to the Tibetan border. And that's a cool thing to do. So you got in there and travelled in a small little truck and gave the driver a few extra rupees. That's what he did it for. No one would challenge him about carrying a few Westerners inside his truck. And we're far north of Nepal, close to the border, but then he wanted to stop for lunch. So he had some lunch, and together with the other two people on this journey, with me, 3 Westerners, we decided to have some exercise. We climbed up one of the hills. Not a tall hill, but when you got to the top of the hill, oh my goodness, the clouds parted. And the first time in a couple of months, you could actually see the Himalaya mountains, the whole of them. Just after a rainstorm, it was so clear. And when I saw the whole range of the Himalaya mountains, almost like crying with joy. But you know what I did? Stupid Ajahn Brahm. I ran back down to the truck. I left my camera in the truck. It couldn't have happened just so perfectly for me. I could see the mountains very quickly, ran down as fast as I could. Running down is easy enough, running down, but running up took much more time. And when I got to the top, right at that moment, no exaggeration, right at the moment, the clouds closed in. And the other 2 travellers, they said, "Where did you go?" I felt so dumb, trying to capture beauty, I've lost it. That's one of the reasons why I learned in life, beauty is nothing you can put in a box and keep forever. Beauty is there to be enjoyed and valued in this moment, and then let go. And then you will never forget it. It was like someone was teaching me an important part of the Dharma, of the practice. And in my whole life, and being a monk for so many years, you've seen some beautiful experiences. But one thing which I've always remembered, you can't take a photograph of it. If you try and take a photo of beauty, you destroy it. So wherever you are in your life and you see the wonderful things which you experience in life, see the beautiful stars at night. Sometimes, spend the evenings over in Jhana Grove, our retreat centre. Those of you who've been there just know how wonderful it is on a nice clear night. And you can lay down on those, we call them stupas, these beautiful, what do you call them? Stupas. It's where they have, once in Jhana Grove, there's 2 of them, and they were donated by this monk and his followers over in Borobudur in Indonesia. And he said, "You're building a retreat centre, can I please help?" And he offered these wonderful chaityas, which of course still there, and all for free. They've got these amazing Buddha statues inside, all made out of stone, the same stone as in the big chaitya at Borobudur. And they are beautiful, but a lot of times I don't watch those Buddha statues inside. I lay on my back and look up at the stars. They are so clear. And if you've done some meditation, your mind is open to be able to see the stars of the Milky Way at night. It's one of the best places to see them. You're laying down on your back, and it's not cold because those stones, they soak up the heat from the day. So it's like on a warm, heated mattress and looking up at all these stars in the sky, so clear, so powerful. That brings you joy and happiness. Natural, not caused by something you've eaten or drunk, but just seeing nature, see infinity in the palm of your hand. You don't have to pay for it. No one's telling you, you've had your time, get out, you can stay there as long as you like. And when you do, the joy and the depth of perception which you have is huge. This is where insight comes from. One of the things which I learned from experiences like that, because this was one of the fields of study for me, academia, intellect, I knew all the names. And I found out that created a huge barrier to enjoying them. Oh no, that's Alpha Centauri, that's only a planet. All of those names, they cause discrimination. This is bigger than that one. This, is further away. This is not a star, this is a galaxy. All of those things disturbed the appreciation in stillness of beauty. And because of that, I realized that it's much nicer not to know if you want to experience and appreciate things. That's also kind of what I figured out when I was even younger. And I did this, basically I didn't have much choice, gap year. I got my scholarship to go to Cambridge when I was only 17. You couldn't go there until you were 18. So I had a year off. So what do? You don't have to do any more study for a while. I decided to go travelling. And I didn't want to go travelling to France or or Scotland or something. I want to go somewhere a little bit further, different cultures. And I mentioned this on the meditation retreat because we had one of the retreatants on the retreat down in Jhana Grove last month over Easter, and she was from this area, from Guatemala, and from the area of the jungle called Tikal. And she didn't actually call her country Guatemala, she called it Guatemala. This is the civilization, the Maya civilization. They didn't leave much in the realm of records to prove what they were up to, what they were doing. But they had these beautiful pyramids in the jungle. Somebody knew that these had some religious significance, but no one knew what it was. And I kind of say thank you for leaving no records. I didn't want to know what they're supposed to mean. It's much better to discover it for yourself. And to get there, in the middle of the jungle, mountainous jungle, the only way to get there was on the back of a fishing boat, back of trucks. It took forever to get there, really slow, just winding around. And one thing I never realized, if you're traveling through a jungle, the paths, the roads, they overgrow with vines so quickly. I never realized this, but it was for about 3 or 4 days I hadn't seen in a straight line. The paths were really twisting all the time. And so my eyes had not seen long distances. You may think that's nothing, but that had a big effect on the experience which I was about to have. I was a boy, okay. Sometimes boys, they see a pyramid, they want to climb up to the top of it. I don't know why else you'd want to climb it. It's because it's there. In other words, no reason. So I went up to the top of one of these pyramids. No one could stop you because there's only one other archaeologist I saw was there at the time. He wasn't interested in me, I wasn't interested in him. So I just walked up the top of one of these pyramids. No books, no explanations. When you got up to the top, it was kind of obvious to me why they had built those big pyramids. One of the reasons was, when you got to the top of the pyramid, you were just above the top of the tree line. For the first time in days, I could see further than a few feet in front of me. I could see distance. I could see infinity in all directions, with nothing between me and the idea of infinity. And that just blew my mind. The first time in days, you could see what was beyond the normal things which you look at. How far do you look? A lot of times there's so many things to see, we can't see distance. We can't understand what infinity is. And one of the things I mentioned at the time, it was like you can see infinity in all directions with nothing between you and the infinite. No sort of books, no people, no leader, no guy who says, I know more than you know. You're free. See forever, whichever way you look. And the other thing which I noticed was up there, above the tree line, you could feel the wind. In jungles you can't feel wind. There's too many bushes and trees, they stop the wind giving you some fresh air. At the top of those pyramids, it's a beautiful wind. It's like going into an air-conditioned place for the first time in days. It was gorgeous. There's little things like that. You're getting to know something very deep in the idea of spirituality. Not what you can read in a book, but what you can feel. which was real, true. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. When I say that phrase from William Blake, eternity in an hour, a lot of people say, yeah, is that how long you're going to talk this evening, Ajahn Brahm? An eternity. That's my usual time of talking. But it's not just time, it's seeing the end of time, beyond time. How many years do you live? Does that make any sense to you? 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 80 years, 100 years? What is that? Sometimes we can get so stressed out by time. We become a prisoner of time. Doesn't matter how much time we have, still we never really understand it. But we are confined by time. That's why some of the experiences you've had in meditation, they're brilliant. When sometimes you're sitting there in your room, or for me, my cave, sometimes time disappears. What does that mean? That means you're sitting there and you go so much into this present moment that time, you realize, is only understood in natural life just by measuring something. A minute, an hour. Imagine you're so much in this present moment, you can't measure. So what is time? Sometimes I always say that time is the space between the past and the present and the future, or the past and the future. They are distances. If you really get into the present moment, you can do that in meditation, really get into it. Right now, in this second, not even a second, you can't call it a second, right now, you get so present, you can't measure anything. You can't count. Time loses its meaning. Imagine when time loses its meaning. Things like wanting, craving, loses its meaning. To crave is something, here I am, that's where I want to be. This I haven't got, I want to get it. That's craving. Imagine right in this present moment, that vanishes. Hatred, ill will, sort of things which really cause you a lot of pain, that disappears. Imagine what that must feel like when all those things vanish. And that's why you have these stories that are verified. Some of these meditators, they don't just meditate for half an hour. Sometimes they meditate for a few days. Without drinking, without going to the toilet. They're not dead. They're just almost like so still that they've escaped from time for a few days. That's like that. I tell people on retreats this happens. That's like the Vietnamese monk over in Sydney. He meditated for 8 days. When I say meditated for 8 days, he didn't move. Because they were Vietnamese, they'd heard of this happens before, so they didn't try and disturb him. They just, in the evening after the first day, he was still meditating, he never rang any bells. It was a retreat of no bell silence. It was supposed to be a joke. Maybe it was badly placed. But anyway, he never moved at all, never ate, never drank, never went to the toilet. Just sat there, like a Buddha statue. And apparently when he came out of his meditation after 8 days, of a 9-day retreat, he came out and he apologized. So I'm sorry I got into this really deep meditation. He didn't need to eat or go to the toilet, rest or anything, he just sat there all the time. And he said, sorry, I should have taught. And the Vietnamese, the result of seeing that for 8 days, they said, no, thank you. We actually saw it. Too many people talk, people like me. But that's actually did, and he saw them. That was, all of his life faculties were still. Perfectly okay. So when those sorts of things happen, that really can impress people, inspire you, show what's possible. Which would you prefer? A Dharma talk, like I usually give, or to see, just sitting here, not moving, for half an hour, another hour? What would you like to see? Sometimes, maybe a bit late in the evening to try this now, but sometimes when you see that happening, it's amazing what you see. And that's what you actually experience. And so some of these beauties which are possible, which bend everything you've ever thought you'd ever experience, change. That's one of the things why I like this sort of stuff. Why, you can have more experience of the beautiful, of the amazing, of the wonderful, things which do impress you, and how limited you make yourself be. Why are you so limited? See a world in a grain of sand, a heaven in a wildflower, or infinity in the palm of your hand, an eternity in an hour. And I've done these similes so many times, but I still also remember in the first meditation hall we built over in Wat Banana Chat in Thailand, built by the villagers, bless them to bits, because they did the concrete floor. And I don't know how many of you know how concrete is made, but to make it level, it takes someone with the trowels, make sure it's as level as possible. If it starts getting dry, bricklayers or concrete workers here in Australia, they sprinkle some water on it. Over in Thailand, they spit on it. They needed to make it wet so it didn't dry too fast, so they could make it smoother and smoother. I saw them make the floor like that. So if you look at that floor, the colours, the different shades of grey. I've got to be careful because when I mention that, it's natural. You saw 100 different shades of grey. And then they said, apparently a movie's been made about that. I said, really? They could see the beauty like I saw the beauty? He said, no, not that at all. Some sexual thing. So that's not what you mean. You see excitement when you get that type of experience, not just the beautiful, which goes much, much deeper, but they had all these beautiful different shades, and because it was just done, with spit and just hard work, that floor was never really level. It had contours. And I do recall the first range retreat which I spent in that monastery. That was in 1974? Yeah, 74, 73, I forget which. But anyway, that I was doing walking meditation. When you do walking meditation, you put your gaze on the floor. You don't look to the left, you don't look to the right. And you just walk as slowly or as fast as you want, just putting all your attention on just this little area of experience, what you're watching, what you're feeling. And I recall, it's amazing, I recall to this day, just walking meditation and then having to stop. I stopped because what I saw, just a body length in front of me on this concrete floor laid by the villagers, it was like another artwork. The different shades of grey, the contours of the piece of concrete were unbelievably beautiful. And I stopped and stood there for a while, and that's when I decided I think I should get a concrete saw, cut it out, and send it to some gallery in London. I wasn't crazy. I could see beauty where other people couldn't. And that was just, again, blew my mind. But I won't sort of keep going for too long. There's one last story which I'm sure that many of you are expecting. It's one of my favourite stories of seeing beauty where I never expected to find it. Sorry, it's too late now. I've started. And that was weird to the max. Over in Jhana Grove on a retreat, and like everybody else, I meditate with you, I get into maybe deeper meditations, but then you also have to go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet. I remember the toilet. The reason you remember the toilet cubicle you went into, in the male toilet, in the middle cubicle, I went in there, sat down. Just like you normally would do, and you relieved your bowels. Nothing wrong with that, just as ordinary as you could expect. But then, what I did, I was very peaceful, very aware, and my mindfulness was huge. My mistake was to look at the content of the toilet bowl. Wow! That's what it was like, honestly. Many of you have heard this story before, but I'm explaining it again because there's some details you always miss out. It's actually to know the full extent of the beauty you saw there. I mean, it was incredible. It wasn't just, a piece of feces. It was all these different balls, all stuck together, but not just stuck together at random, like they'd been chosen to put this way and that way by like a Michelangelo, someone with a huge amount of skill. There are some people who've got the artistic talent, and they put things together. They do really look beautiful. And this was one of the most beautiful pieces of SHIT I'd ever thought could exist. And that was just the shape of it. Then you got the sort of the colour. I don't know why people get repelled by this. This is natural, this is real. Sometimes people paint, we just finished repainting the gates of Bodhinyana monasteries, brown or gold or something. But this is more real, it's down to earth. It is natural. Now, how many of you don't like sort of fake chemical stuff? This is what happens when you really appreciate the beauty of nature. You can't get more natural than a piece of shit. And I was looking at it, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. This is what you do. It's just like seeing a world in a grain of sand. Beautiful. How come you've missed this for much of your life? Things which are right there in front of you, and you just don't know how to look at them and see them. And then you can't go past also the last thing which I noticed, the fragrance. Now come on, get real. Look, I've been a monk a long time, and sometimes people wear perfumes and they wear jewellery. I can never forget that time while we were in Bodhinyana monastery years and years and years ago, when I just finished laying some concrete. I work. This is quite a few years ago. Finished laying some concrete. If you mix concrete, you get some of the splashes of the mortar on your robes and on your face, because there's a dirty job to mix concrete. So, I was just going back to my room to take a shower and then go for lunch. And then I heard a strange sound at the car park in Bodhinyana monastery, and I really, really thought it was an ice cream truck. You know, they make a sort of jingly sound. But then when I looked, it wasn't an ice cream truck. It was a very high-class Sri Lankan lady dressed up in all her jewellery. Dingle, dingle, collect. Honestly, she had so much jewellery on. It sounded like an ice cream truck. There's no sort of criticism of Sri Lanka custom or whatever. It's just, Thais do that. I'm sure you've done that before in your life. Dingle, jangle, crangle, whatever. So when I she came up to me and said, "I'm looking for Ajahn Brahm." Now, I'm smart enough not to admit who I am. So I said, "He'd probably be down in the dining room in a few minutes." So off she went, jingle, jangle, dangle. And I went, took a quick shower, changed into some clean robes, and then went to the dining room and saw her. Gave her a little talk about Buddhism and why we're doing what we're doing. And then after my little talk to her, she said, "Oh, wonderful, thank you, that was a really nice talk. I'm glad I finally met you." But then she said, "If you don't mind me saying, I saw one of your monks on the way here, and he looked very, very badly dressed." Honestly, she never realised it was me. And I can understand why. You look very different if you haven't been to the shower and tidied yourself up a bit. And so I said, "Okay, ma'am, I think I know who it is. I'll say something to him later." He said, thank you, that's very good. But you don't want to have one or two monks born in your beautiful monastery. So, yes, I understand. And I never told him what was going on. I kind of enjoyed the sort of secrecy of that and just the little fun of a good story to tell people on a Friday night. But that's actually what happens with beauty, tidiness, and what happens in meditation, and how much beautiful stuff you can see. I don't know if I don't mind telling these stories. I don't know if you noticed those who were on the retreat with me over in Jhana Grove. You can always tell if my meditation is going well. You get lots of joy coming up, especially in the morning. In the morning time, sometimes, this is really nice. You get much more happiness, much more good health, and even your breakfast tastes more delicious. You just got to be very careful to actually eat the breakfast and not say, wow, look at that, taste that. Because that's another experience I do remember. Doing a retreat, personal retreat, doing a bit of fasting as well. And then the first breakfast which I had after that retreat, or after that fasting, was baked beans. Please, I like baked beans, so don't keep offering too much to me. But I just took not a spoonful of beans. I took one baked bean. Because when you're mindful, you don't want to overblow your senses. Just one baked bean, and I put it in my mouth slowly. My goodness. That was an incredible taste, sensation. The taste exploded. Like on the outside of that baked bean was like the tomato sauce. Beautifully balanced between a bit sour, a bit sweet, a bit salty. But it had that taste of tomato sauce, you know what I mean? And it was so well balanced. And I just let it dissolve into my mouth as the baked bean flavour just permeated all of my mouth. And I never rushed it, because it was one of the most gorgeous flavours I've tasted for a long time. And eventually the flavour disappeared. I still had the bean left in my mouth. And then I very slowly crushed the bean in my mouth. And just the texture of a bean which has just been baked just enough, not too much, not too little. And I could let it just dissolve into the saliva of my mouth. And I thought, my goodness, this is like it's been, just one bean has been cooked by, was it Jamie Oliver or someone? I don't know the names. I looked at the cat afterwards, I was looking for his name. It couldn't have been done just by any old cook. This was amazing high cuisine. So baked beans by Jamie Oliver. Have you ever tasted those? Of course it was done by another cook called Mr. Hines. But it's just how your perception gets enhanced by ordinary meditation. And you start to see tastes and pleasures and things you never expected, beauty in so many places. That's what happens. That's why I love being a monk. That's why I love going on retreats. That's why I love meditating. How much fun do you have? Just one baked bean. Wow! Thank you for listening. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Okay, we've got some questions and answers, I hope. Maybe from Mr. Oliver, from his lawyer, wanted to sue me. Yeah, we've got some in the back there, yeah. Is the internet not working? Yes, sadhu, sadhu. Oh, you have some there. Great.
Oh, okay.
This is Jana.
Okay.
Thank you for being the, what do you call it? If the beautiful lady who comes to give the questions to the what? Maitre d'. That'll do. Anyway, thank you. Friday night talk, Ajahn Brahm. Question, Ajahn, I can feel calm while meditating, but I'm overcome with anxiety soon after. If you follow what I was saying, you don't get anxiety at all. You can't. You get beauty and safety and gorgeous. Everything feels so wonderful, like you're in a heaven realm. And it's just ordinary poo, ordinary baked beans, simple stuff. And that's how you react to it. And I really can't understand why more people don't come here. If we had the menu for this evening's talk, like that, the most beautiful artwork you've ever seen in your life, and just the fragrance of the poo, wow, tremendous. I can feel calm while meditating, but overcome with anxiety soon after. How do I carry the peace into day-to-day life? Meditation seems like escaping from reality. No, it's escaping from suffering and getting into reality. What can be more real than a baked bean, just a grain of sand, a wild flower? Nothing which is constructed, but which is right there, which people can walk over looking for something more, and they miss what's already there. So that's how it works. After a while, you just get so much into the meditation, you have a wonderful life. Do you imagine, if I'm taken advantage of, do I be a good Buddhist and forgive, or do I raise my disapproval to stand up for myself? I try the form and I just get so much pent-up frustration, help. That's one of the meanings of my life. Same with you as well. The purpose of your life in Udayallu is to be taken advantage of. Me too. Sometimes we should put a sign up outside. The monks are to be taken advantage of. We want to be able to give. And you get so much joy giving. You were telling me, where's she gone? Actually, you were telling me the story that for my last birthday, last year, someone gave me I don't mind saying this, you can take it out afterwards if I say something wrong, a Dome gift card. You know the Dome cafes? And it so happened they're beautiful for monks to use because you can get food at a Dome cafe like a lunch before 12 noon. So we were going to UWA to give a talk with Bernard Carr just last month. I went with 3 monks and also a driver. Were you in that? No, okay. So, how are we going to pay for this? So I got out the Dome card. It's on me. That's one of the things I miss, honestly. Being a monk, people treat me, but I can't treat you. I miss that. So I said, well, it's really for Ksenia and Drew as well. Were you involved in that? Yeah. And see, that's what we use it for. And the monks had a nice treat. And I had a treat too. I know another time I was going to the airport, no time to have a proper meal, so we went to a Dome restaurant over in, was it anyway, close to the airport, and Nicholas drove me there, and so I said, what do you want to eat? He said, no, I could invite you. I said, no way. I got out one of these Dome cards, and I shouted a nice lunch for Nicholas. I enjoy that. Please don't take away my little perks of being a senior monk, to treat somebody. At the same time, is she here, Madhu? One of our treasurers or accountants, whatever she does. She was in that Dome cafe and she sent over some cake to us as well. Never expected that. I was already full. So we sent that to Dhammasawa, the nuns' monastery. I have a really nice, interesting life. I can do good karma as well. I'm there to be taken advantage of. Please take advantage of me. But not tonight, thank you. I need to save my energies for tomorrow. Okay. And next one from Medan in Indonesia. I'm going to Indonesia on Monday, but this time not Medan. I never organised this. The Ehipasiko Foundation organised the trip. What are the ways and suggestions in Dharma when we make important decisions in life without regret, even though sometimes it disappoints certain parties? Look, forget about other parties. If you go out of this hall and you go out of the main gate and you turn left, is that a wrong decision? If you turn right, is that a wrong decision? Both the decisions are the same. The road around the park is round. Turn left, turn right, it's all the same. And that's a very good simile for life. Whichever way you go, left or right, they always get to the same place in the end. Is that true? Of course it's true. You get to the same place in the end, the cemetery. A couple of times, there's actually just sometimes I've got an irritable throat sometimes because I probably talk too much. I cough. I said, Ajahn Brahm, you should do something about that cough. It could be dangerous for your health. You might die. Yeah, I suppose that's true, but my reaction to that is the old saying I learned when I was a kid. It's not the cough that carries you off, it's the coffin they carry you off in. I'm not afraid of coughs. Coughing is a bit more dangerous. But anyway, you all know that story about how to stop a coffin? No, cough mix. You throw cough mixture at coffins and they stop. Haven't you heard the pharmacist say that? Cough mixture stops the coffin. Okay, I'm getting past my bedtime, I think. Question: how to deal with obsessive thoughts about what others think of me and thoughts about impressing other people? If they're going to impress other people, they've got to think of you first. Isn't that the case? And sometimes I'm very happy when they think bad thoughts about me, because then they leave me alone. I've been wondering, how can I retire? Because every time, you give a talk somewhere, like even going to Indonesia, apparently they're all, whatever it is, they're all booked. I think, why they've heard of my stories before, they know me, why do they keep bothering me having to give talks? So what I wanted to do, if anybody knows this, I know there's many schools which teach people how to tell funny stories and how people to give good talks. I don't want any of those type of organizations. How can we have an organization which teaches me to be more grumpy? More offensive? More irritating? I want to go to not a charm school, an irritable school. Is that a good idea? Because if I go to an irritable school and give irritable stories every Friday night, then they leave me alone. And I can go to bed early every night and have more time by myself. Is that a good idea? Good idea? Does anybody know the address or phone number of an irritable school? What did you say? The committee. What committee? Yeah. I said this, let's say it too. And that's why a group of young people came to Bodhinyana Monastery, and I said to them, look, some of you at that age, you're looking for a partner in life, you always choose the wrong partner. And I know this, because they will come and complain to me afterwards. My wife does this, my husband does that. Ugh. And the solution is so easy. If you are a young man, never marry a beautiful wife or beautiful woman. Marry an ugly one. If you marry an ugly girl, now think about it, it's logic, it's reason. If you marry an ugly girl, you don't have to worry about her at all. You can be late in the office at night, you can just go have some fun with your friends. Because she's ugly, she'll always be there for you afterwards. And you women, never marry a rich man. That's really dangerous. If he's a rich guy, then you can have, they actually given them a name, trophy wife. Yeah. Anyway, because he's wealthy, he can have girlfriends on the side, he never lets you know. But if he's poor, if he really has got very little money, then you're safe. You don't have to worry at all. No one will want to go out with him if he's that poor. So this is my trick for a happy marriage. Never marry a beautiful girl. Never marry a wealthy guy. And if you're already too beautiful already, you can go to ugly school, not beauty parlour, ugly parlour. You have a much happier life. That's why I'm single and happy. Okay. I can't even finish the sentence anymore, so I'm going to finish off now. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Yeah. Okay, Eddie, you haven't asked the question yet, but thank you for being here. No, time. Okay. Let's bow to the Buddha. Arahant Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhaṃ Bhagavantaṃ Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.